Hey folks, welcome back to Real Estate Investing Unmasked. Today, we're going to talk about home inspections. We're going to talk about something I wish I had known before I started investing. I don't mean to disparage home inspectors at all. Let me just put that out forward. But if you do your work, you do your research, you'll find that places like, for instance, California, places where they want to license you for everything you do. Weirdly enough, there's no license requirement to be a home inspector in the state of California, which means if I feel that I can do a home inspection, I can market myself as a home inspector. Now, I don't have any problem with that as long as the person who's hiring you to do the home inspections knows what your background is. I have used home inspectors many times on properties in Ohio, Mississippi, Tennessee, and in California. And when I use a home inspector, I expect to have a whole list of things that they looked at and things that tell me that whether things are okay, they're acceptable, not okay, or dangerous, and somewhere along that spectrum. I've had people that go in and they look at a property and they tell me something that's wrong that I don't even understand. Now that's usually what that has been in the past has actually been a pretty decent thing because it's actually taught me a lesson. Now, one of the most beneficial things that you can do is to follow a home inspector around the house. So if you ever get a chance and you hire a home inspector and you get a chance to follow them around the house to see what they see, one, it forces them to point out everything to you, and two, you get to learn about every single one of those nuances. So when they say there's not enough circulating air, not enough combustion air for your heater in this closet, you can say, what in the world does that mean? And they'll explain it to you. Hey, in order for the gas to burn inside your heater, it has to have enough air to mix with the gas that's blowing through for it to burn properly. That's just an example. Let's say you get up and you see a water stain inside the attic, and you look up and you're like, oh no, that's water damage. Well, your home inspector, if that's their forte, they may be able to say, that's actually not a problem, you can tell it's already been fixed. Or they may say, yeah, that's pretty recent. I can tell that's something you might want to look at finishing something up on the roof. That is a huge value. Now, if you're not there, you can't do any of those things. You can't ask the home inspector, hey, what does this mean? Hey, what does that mean? Until after the report's done. And once the report is done and given to you, it's a lot different because they're not there at the property anymore. So unless something really stood out, they might give you just a blanket answer. Now, there are home inspectors that have been doing this. There are home inspectors that have been doing this for 20, 30 years, and they do a phenomenal job because they've seen all kinds of things. They've got plenty of education they've given themselves, but there are people that don't have that much education in it. When you go into home inspection, for the most part, the people are educated in one general area. For instance, I am heavily educated in the area of natural gas. That's my background. I know natural gas appliances, so it's very easy for me to go and look at a natural gas appliance and know whether it's going to work right or not. For the most part, just by looking at it. Now, there's some issues that I won't be able to see until it's actually fired up, but that's my background. So if my background is a construction worker or I do framing, I'll be able to go in and I'll look at the walls and be able to say, hey, something's not right with this wall. If I do bug treatment, I would be able to go in and say, look, this is a sign of termites, or this is a sign of earwigs, or this is a sign of silverfish, or whatever it is, or this is a sign of roaches. Those are things that you pick up because that's your forte. If you're a roofer, you're going to go up there and look at the attic and be like, I know this is what the problem is. If only they had done this, or if only they did this to fix it. That's where it comes in to your benefit. If you know what your property inspector, your home inspector, their background is in, then you'll know kind of what to expect with them, but you'll also know their weaknesses. And there have been many a time I've run into people who are selling their home, or people who just bought their home, who tell me that the home inspector missed this or missed that. And it's just because that wasn't their forte. Now, for me, like I said, my forte is in natural gas appliances. I know them very well. I can build them from scratch if I need to. When I go to a house after a home inspection, most home inspectors don't understand gas appliances the way that I do. And so quite often I will find something in the heating system or in the cooking system, the stove, where they didn't catch that stuff. They didn't catch the stuff in the house. Maybe an appliance isn't connected properly and they didn't know that. They just see it's connected and think it's okay. Those are things that I might be able to catch. And that's why it's important. That's why it's important that you, as an investor, if you want to invest in property, you try to learn as much as possible. It would be good if you had the chance to ride along with a property inspector, if you had the chance to see a couple different reports to see what they pick out and what they don't pick out, what stands out in a property report. And for you guys, at some point, that's probably what I will do. I will probably go inside a house that's for sale and go look around like a property inspector and point out the things that I think you should be watching out for. As an example, you always have to look up in the attic. You always have to look under the sink, and you always have to look at their heating air conditioner system, and you always have to look in their electric circuit box, in their electric box. If you look at their electric panel, and you look at their heating system, and you look under the sink, and you look up in the attic, you can tell a lot of things. See, if the water is leaking through my ceiling, and I have a spot that's this big, I can paint over it as a seller, and you would never know, not until the next rainstorm. But if I go in the attic, the likelihood of them painting over that is next to nothing. So I can go up in the attic and I can see water stains. Because see, in the attic you have free airflow, which also means you have dust and particles that come in there. So when it gets wet, it also stains it. You see, it leaves a little wet stain up in your attic. So you will be able to see water damage up in your attic. So you gotta go in the attic, if it has one. Under the sink, when you open up the sink, you look down on the base. If the base is flat and smooth and clean, it doesn't leak. It's just that simple. And you can look at the pipes and to see if there's any kind of running of water that's on them. It's actually really simple. The electric box, you open it up, you want to make sure that all the wires are connected, all the wires are in place, the breakers are in place, the breakers open and close. If the people that don't mind you doing that, open and close them, make sure that they pop like they're supposed to. For the heating and air conditioning system, there's so many different things that you could look for on those. Does the door close? Does the blower door open and close? Is the filter dirty? If the filter's dirty when you got there, do you think that the previous owner kept it up? They probably didn't. Now that doesn't mean that it's not working right, but that means it may have been under strain for a while. So you could also see how old your heating air conditioner system is. If it's older than 20 years old, well, maybe it's getting close to that time when maybe you want to replace it. It just depends on where you are and how well it's working. If it looks like it's in good shape, then maybe you let it keep going for a while. Okay, so those are different things you look at. For termites and bugs, you want to look at the window sills. Lift up the windows, look under the window sills, look underneath doors, especially exterior doors. You want to look outside at window sills, and any place where you have wood, termite, if you have wood in the house, you want to look to see if there's any little pebbles, any little dots. It looks like little dots from the termites that are left over. And if you don't know what that is, maybe I'll put a picture right here so you can see what it looks like. But you can also Google that. You can go do a Google search to see what termite damage looks like. Termite damage is very easily hidden if you don't know the telltale signs. So you just have to go in and look at it and do your research. So when you get a home inspection, you need to make sure you do your inspection as well and learn as much as you can. If you really are going to get into real estate investing, or even if you're just going to buy your own house, just your own house that you want to be comfortable with, you need to know some of those telltale signs so that when you get into contract on a property, you're not going to get pushed into something that's an accident waiting to happen. The roof's going to collapse. I'll give you an example. Things that my home inspector did find for me on my first house. There were 13 layers of shingles. 13. I don't know which way it's facing you. So 13 layers of shingles. Yeah, there were 13 layers of shingles on my roof. That's not permitted. You're not allowed to have that many layers of shingles. Now my home inspector found that. The other thing you may find is if you invest in property that's far away from you, there are sometimes the home inspectors won't inspect for you. As an example, when I was buying property in Ohio years ago, I had a property inspector that I liked to go to because I knew he was knowledgeable. And at a certain point, he said, I'm no longer doing out-of-state inspections or inspections for investors from out of state. because the inspectors, the people from out of state would buy a property. The property manager would take over the place and say, hey, this needs to be fixed up, this needs to be fixed up, this needs to be fixed up, and none of that ever showed up on the report. Another thing to keep in mind too is a home inspector can only see the systems in their use if they have what they need. For instance, if I turn on the heater and there's no gas because the gas is turned off at the meter, then I'm not going to know if the heater works properly or if the firebox is cracked. And if the firebox is cracked, you're out a whole lot of thousands of dollars to get that thing replaced. If the electricity is off, I can't turn on the air conditioner, I can't turn on the lights. If the water's off, I can't check the plumbing to see if it's actually dripping, if the faucet's dripping, or if everything's working properly. So you kind of have to have all systems in go, and that's one of the ways that home inspectors are limited. So keep all of these things in mind. These are things I wish I would have known before I started investing, because I just figured these guys were Superman. You know, they go into a property and they're like, oh, it's this, and this, and they take pictures of it and say, here you go, pretty much a rap sheet on what you need to get fixed. And for that, it's great. Home inspectors are great for that. They give you a list of what needs to be repaired. You're buying a fix and flip, and you really want to know, okay, what do I need to repair? Get a home inspector, they'll make the list for you, and then you pretty much have to go through and price out what you think it's going to cost to fix everything. It makes it actually pretty simple, as long as they catch everything. When you're buying a property, keep in mind they'll give you a list of the things that are wrong, but you also have to consider there might be some things that they overlooked or that they missed. Maybe somebody called them on the phone while they were in the middle of the property and they were looking at something like carpet that looks like it's going to be torn up in that area, and they got distracted and they didn't put that on the report. It's possible. Stuff like that happens. Trees in the yard. Maybe they're not an arborist and they don't know that tree has roots that spread and go crazy in the plumbing down below, and it's going to cause you a $16,000 sewer problem. Okay, so these are things to keep in mind. Anyway, I hope that helps for you. If you have questions about home inspection or a question about something that you found in one of your home inspections itself, maybe home inspector inspected your property and found something that was scary, or maybe they missed something. Tell me your story down below about what they missed or what they found. I would love to hear it. Those are things that I think are awesome. In the end, please subscribe. Click once if you liked it, and click the down vote twice if you don't like it. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.